Over the years I've sold a good number of things on Gumtree, and recently I placed a gaming PC for sale. If you're not familiar with Gumtree, it's a little bit like Craigslist, and you can buy and sell stuff locally. But like Craigslist, it's wide open for scams, and the advice is always to see the goods you're about to buy, and when it comes to selling, ensure that you get payment up front. So when I got a text to my mobile phone offering me some prepayment, I was very suspicious, and when I looked closer, it wasn't the Gumtree site at all, it was gumtree.cc rather than gumtree.com. The URL had a unique number on the end, but it wasn't the same as the sales number that I'd used in the proper Gumtree site. So when I spotted this, I thought this was going to be a pretty standard phishing scam, but instead when I followed the link, I uncovered a very sophisticated scam.
Critical alert from Microsoft.
The text I received contained my first name, so obviously they'd harvested some data, but I was really surprised to see, when I clicked the link, my real advert appeared. I was expecting just some form to ask me for my credit card details, but no, this really was my advert with the words received payment at the bottom. As I scrolled down, it told me that I had received the full asking amount of £400 and that the funds were charged via the secure transaction service, something I'd never heard of. To continue, I just need to click the continue button. This was all in the right font and the right logos for Gumtree, so it looked pretty convincing so far. There were even some genuine Gumtree links to talk about internet safety. There was a description of what a secure transaction was, but it was pretty vague, so I just clicked the continue button. At that point I was expecting to see a pretty standard phishing form, but no, this time it was asking me to download an application. The application was named Gumtree.apk, which is a pretty standard package for an Android phone. These scammers have gone out of their way to create both an Android and an iOS application which would have been downloaded to my phone. The normal advice is to only ever download and run something from the Google Play Store in the case of Android, or the Apple Store for iOS devices. And it's to safeguard against just this. This is obviously a fake Gumtree app, and we'll have a look at what that actually does. I definitely didn't want to sacrifice my real mobile phone, goodness only knows what the application did, so I downloaded something called BlueStacks. BlueStacks is an Android emulator which will allow me to test out the app without risking my own phone. When I had it installed, I tried out the URL that had been texted to me by the scammer, but by this stage the whole domain seemed to be off air. However, I had saved a copy of the APK file, so I copied this from my phone to this emulator. So now that it was installed, it was time to run it and see what it was actually doing. When I double clicked it, it automatically rotated the screen so that it was in portrait mode. It was then prompting me to log in to this fake Gumtree. The only options open to me were to sign in with Google or to use my phone number. I tried to sign in with Google first and it did nothing whatsoever. It seemed that the only thing I could do was to type in a phone number. And my initial thought was, probably any phone number will do if this is a bog standard phishing site. So I initially tried a few random mobile phone numbers which were UK length compliant, and I thought I'd be able to log in. But no, it wouldn't accept this as a login. I tried once again to sign in with Google, and again it wouldn't let me. It seemed the only thing I could do was to use a mobile phone number. I tried another random phone number, thinking that I might have got the number of digits wrong, but again this time around it wouldn't let me log in. And then it dawned on me, these guys were more sophisticated than I thought. They had my real name, they knew my mobile phone number, they had a copy of my advert. Chances were, for this version of the application, I would have to use my real mobile phone number. And sure enough, when I tried the real thing, it did let me log in. It presented me a screen to tell me that a payment had been received, but I had to confirm it within 16 hours, and the clock was ticking. It seems that I would have to confirm the order if I didn't want it to be cancelled. So still curious as to what would be next, I clicked the Confirm Order button. I was running Wireshark this whole time, so anything that it was contacting I would be able to trace. And not surprisingly, it said that there was an error and that bank details were not available. Seemingly, I had to add a card before I could proceed. And this is the crux of the scam. They ask for card details and they claim that they will deduct just 1 penny to prove that the card's mine. Although it claims that it's going to be deducting 1 penny, it's very likely that this app is specifically designed to remove thousands of pounds from anyone who types credit card details into these fields. I had Wireshark running and I was looking at which server it was talking to whilst I was typing information into these fields. It looks like a UK server and it's a Microsoft Azure or cloud server. I filled in the fields with some fake information. I had a credit card number of the right format, so the validator should have worked. I gave them a fake name and then I typed in the month of expiry of this card and the CVV. However, the validation wasn't that brilliant for the month because although I typed 04/21, it expected a space between the 4 and the slash. So it took me a couple of goes before I would get this form actually filled out. When I finally did get the space character right in the month, eventually the form did accept my card and I was able to supposedly make a payment. It was obviously doing some sort of validation because it took a while before it prompted me for yet more information. This time it was asking me for more personal information, my forename, surname, address, city and postcode. Again, I populated this with some fake information. The app could have done with some better validation because there wasn't enough room in the address field to complete a full address. However, I was able to submit what I had. Finally, when I had captured all of this personal information, I was given a confirmation order and told that a check was in progress and I should await activation of my account. The final check the application status button didn't seem to do very much. When I clicked it, all it did was say a check was in progress and I should still wait. I presume I would be waiting forever. Sometime later, out of curiosity, I decided to see if the app would let me put in these personal details once more. So I deleted the app off my desktop and recopied it. However, this time when I tried to run the app again, it did nothing but crash out. It seems that whoever created this app deliberately constructed it so that you could only type these details once and then it wouldn't lend itself to any further analysis. This has definitely been one of the most sophisticated apps and scams that I've seen in quite a while. The app itself has been tailored, or at least adverts have been copied from the original Gumtree so that it performs to look as if it's a real app. And because it's been designed to only run exactly once, the people who are behind the app are more sophisticated than your average cyber criminal. I've left a link to the APK file which I downloaded, and perhaps others who are more used to analysing what these apps do could maybe have a look at it and please get back to me with your analysis. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you again for supporting me on Patreon.